Me and Matty Rimakers have spoken online. This is the crazy thing that I think is what's happened. I think it's become like a Lionel Messi Ronaldo situation where, do you know what those two are probably are? That should be it.
A salvage title is one of the worst labels a car can receive. The moment an insurance company marks a car as total loss, its story seems to end. To the system, that car is no longer valuable. It is written off, removed from normal trade, and sent into a world of auctions and scrap yards. For most people, this is where the story stops. A broken supercar is just junk, a problem that is too expensive to fix, something that should be forgotten. But that idea hides a deeper truth. A dead car is not truly dead. It still has a body, an engine, and a history. It still carries engineering worth millions of dollars. It just no longer fits inside the business system that created it. And that is where everything begins. Insurance companies do not decide a car is destroyed because it cannot be fixed. They decide based on cost. If repairing a car costs more than its market value, it becomes totaled. Even if 70% of the car is still perfectly usable, it is still written off. This system keeps financial risk controlled, but also creates a strange reality. Perfectly rebuildable machines are treated like waste. These wreck supercars and enter salvage auctions. Here, they are bought by rebuilders, mechanics, and creators who see something different. They do not see a dead machine. They see potential. They see a challenge. They see a machine that can be brought back to life with enough skill, patience, and money. This is where people like Mat Armstrong enter the story. Mat Armstrong is not a traditional car dealer or manufacturer engineer. He is a content creator and builder who made his name by doing something unusual. Instead of reviewing perfect cars, he buys broken ones, not small damaged cars, but serious wrecks. Cars that most people would walk away from. Cars with bent frames, broken engines, and damaged electronics. Cars that insurance companies already declared done. And then he does something that many people thought was impossible. He rebuilds them. He documents everything. Every broken bolt. Every missing part. Every failed attempt. Every repair step. Nothing is hidden. This is not a polished showroom story. It is a real garage process, messy and honest. And that honesty is exactly what made his content powerful. In a world where car videos often show luxury lifestyles and perfect machines, Mat Armstrong showed something different. He showed reality. He showed what happens after crash. He showed that cars are not magic. They are machines made of replaceable parts. And if you understand those parts, you can rebuild almost anything. This idea sounds simple, but it challenges a much bigger system. Luxury car brands like Ferrari, Porsche, and Bugatti build their image on perfection. Their cars are presented as the highest level of engineering. Every detail is controlled. Every repair is supposed to go through official channels. Every part is supposed to come from the manufacturer. This system protects quality, but it also protects pricing and control. When someone outside that system rebuilds a supercar, it creates tension, because now people are seeing something they were never supposed to see. A Ferrari engine can be repaired outside the factory, and a Porsche can be rebuilt without official tools, and a Bugatti can be restored after being declared beyond repair. And when viewers see this happening in real time, they start asking questions. Why are repairs so expensive at official dealers? Why are parts so restricted? Why does a crash car lose so much value if it can be fixed? This is where Mat Armstrong's content becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a challenge to the system. Not because he is trying to attack anyone, but because transparency has a powerful effect. When people see the real cost of rebuilding cars, they start comparing it to official pricing. And that comparison is where tension begins. That a damaged supercar is not just metal and parts. It is also brand value. And brand value is built on perception. If people believe a car is too complex or too special to be repaired outside the factory, then the brand stays in control. But if that belief breaks, control weakens. This is why salvage rebuild content feels so powerful online. It shows something hidden. It removes mystery. It turns elite engineering into visible mechanics. But it also creates conflict because manufacturers do not fully control what happens after a car is sold. Once a vehicle leaves the showroom, ownership changes. Legally, the buyer can repair it, modify it, or even rebuild it from a wreck. But brands still try to protect their systems through parts networks, authorized service centers, and strict technical rules. This is where the world of salvage rebuilding becomes complicated on one side. There are creators and builders who believe in open repair culture. They believe that if a car can be fixed, it should be fixed. On the other side, there are manufacturers who believe that only certified repair systems can guarantee safety, quality, and brand protection. Both sides have arguments. Both sides have logic. But the conflict grows when millions of people are watching the process unfold online. And that is exactly what happened when high-end supercars entered the salvage world of content creators. A crashed hypercar is not just a project. It becomes a symbol. A symbol of whether modern engineering is truly untouchable or just expensive and control. As more rebuild videos appeared online, audiences started realizing something important. Many damaged cars were not beyond repair. They were just financially written off. That difference changed everything, because too expensive to fix is not the same as impossible to fix. And once that idea spreads, the entire structure around supercar ownership starts to look different. By the time Mat Armstrong had already rebuilt several damaged supercars, people in the automotive world had started paying attention. His audience was growing fast, and every new project seemed bigger than the last. But even loyal viewers were not prepared for what came next. Because rebuilding a damaged Ferrari is one thing. Rebuilding a Bugatti Chiron is something completely different. The Bugatti Chiron is not just another supercar. It is one of the most advanced road cars ever built. The machine represents extreme engineering at the highest level. Its massive W16 engine produces unbelievable power. The car contains systems so complex that many mechanics never even get close to working on one. Bugatti built the Chiron to feel almost untouchable, like a machine from another world. That exclusivity is part of what makes the brand so valuable, which is why the internet exploded when news spread that a heavily damaged Chiron had been purchased for a rebuild project. The car had suffered major crash damage somewhere in Europe. The front structure was destroyed, critical components were damaged, and repair costs were believed to be enormous. Insurance companies had already done the calculations and decided the car was no longer financially worth saving. In the traditional system, that should have been the end of the story. The vehicle should have disappeared into storage, parts dismantling, or permanent retirement. Instead, it appeared on Mat Armstrong's channel. The reaction online was immediate. Millions of viewers clicked on the video, not because they expected success, but because they expected failure. People wanted to see whether rebuilding such a complicated machine was even possible outside Bugatti's official network. Car forums filled with arguments. Some viewers believe it would become the greatest rebuild ever filmed on YouTube. Others believe it would become a complete disaster. That uncertainty became the engine behind the project's popularity. The Chiron is surrounded by mythology. Everything about the car is presented as extreme. The tires are specially designed. The engine is handcrafted. The maintenance costs are legendary. Stories about Bugatti servicing and replacement parts spread across the internet like urban legends. Some reports claim certain repairs could cost more than entire luxury houses. Whether fully true or slightly exaggerated, those stories help create an image that the Chiron belonged in a separate category from normal vehicles. And now, suddenly, millions of people were watching one being repaired inside a garage. That image alone was powerful, because the rebuild removed the invisible wall around the car. It transformed the Chiron from an untouchable object into something mechanical again. Complicated. Yes. Difficult, absolutely. But still a machine built from parts, wiring, bolts, sensors, and engineering decisions. For many viewers, this was fascinating. For luxury manufacturers, however, it created a serious concern. The power of brands like Bugatti does not only come from performance numbers, it also comes from exclusivity, the feeling that their cars exist in a world far above ordinary ownership. Customers are not simply buying transportation. They are buying status, access, and rarity. Every detail around the ownership experience is carefully controlled to protect that image a salvage rebuild threatens that control. Because if a damaged Chiron can be rebuilt outside the factory, then the mystery becomes weaker. The machine starts looking less like an impossible masterpiece and more like an extremely advanced car that talented people can still understand and repair. That does not mean rebuilding it is easy. In fact, The project showed exactly how difficult modern hypercars truly are. Every stage of the rebuild brought new problems. Missing components had to be sourced from around the world. Electronics needed testing. Structural damage raised safety questions. Some parts were almost impossible to locate. Others reportedly came with huge costs attached. Even identifying the correct replacement components became part of the challenge. But the most important thing was not the technical struggle itself. IT was a transparency. Normally, owners never see this side of the automotive world. Repair negotiations happen privately. Manufacturer policies stay hidden behind dealerships. Parts pricing is buried deep inside official systems. But YouTube changed that. Every obstacle became public content. Every delay became visible. Every expensive repair became a discussion watched by millions. This level of openness created something unusual. Audiences started learning how the luxury car industry actually works behind the scenes. They learned how difficult sourcing parts could be. They learned how manufacturers tightly control official repair networks. They learned how expensive specialized systems really are. And most importantly, they learned that many repair barriers were not always technical. Some were business-related. That realization changed the way people viewed modern car ownership. For decades, manufacturers controlled information. If something broke, customers depended on authorized service centers. Technical knowledge stayed inside official systems. But online rebuild culture disrupted that balance. Independent mechanics, creators, and rebuilders started sharing information publicly. Suddenly, knowledge that once belonged only to manufacturers became available to everyone with an internet connection. This shift frightened many companies far beyond the automotive industry. Because control over repairs means control over long-term profits. If customers can repair products independently, manufacturers lose part of that control. The Chiron rebuild became part of a much larger debate known as the right to repair movement. Around the world, consumers were already arguing that products they purchased should remain fully theirs to repair and modify. This debate affected phones, tractors, computers, electronics, and now even hypercars. Mat Armstrong's rebuild became one of the most visible examples of that idea inside the automotive world. Not because he was making political statements, but because his actions naturally raised difficult questions. Who truly owns a car to purchase? Should manufacturers control repairs forever? Should access to parts and information remain restricted? Can independent rebuilders safely restore modern vehicles? These questions turned a YouTube project into something much larger, and then came the legal pressure. Reports and rumors started spreading across automotive media and online communities that luxury manufacturers were unhappy with the visibility of these rebuilds. Discussions about parts sourcing, trademarks, safety concerns, and liability became more serious. While exact details often remained unclear or unofficial, the tension was obvious. Brands wanted to protect their reputation, while creators wanted freedom to rebuild and document their projects. This conflict was not unique to Bugatti. Ferrari had already built a reputation for aggressively protecting its image. Porsche had long maintained strict standards for repair and certification. The difference now was that social media had changed the balance of power. A single creator with a camera could reach more viewers than many traditional car magazines, and audiences trusted transparency more than polished marketing. That was the real disruption. Not just rebuilding the car, but rebuilding public perception. For years, luxury brands controlled the story around damaged supercars. Once a vehicle was declared a total loss, the public rarely saw it again. But YouTube creators changed that. They turned hidden salvage cars into entertainment, education, and proof that modern engineering was not as untouchable as many believed. The Chiron project became the perfect symbol of this new era. A crashed hypercar, once considered finished, was slowly returned to life in front of millions of viewers. Every repaired panel challenged assumptions. Every replaced component weakened the idea that only manufacturers could handle these machines. And every successful step made one thing clear: the future of ownership was changing. As the Bugatti Chiron rebuild continued attracting millions of views, the discussion around salvage supercars became much larger than one YouTube channel. What had started as entertainment was now turning into a serious conversation about ownership, repair rights, and corporate control. And the more attention these rebuilds received, the more uncomfortable some manufacturers appear to become. Among luxury brands, Ferrari had already built a reputation for fiercely protecting its image. The company has always treated its cars differently from normal vehicles. Ferrari is not just selling transportation. It is selling identity, prestige, and exclusivity. Every detail connected to the brand is carefully managed, from dealership experiences to resale standards. Even longtime fans understand that Ferrari prefers strict control over how its cars are represented in public. Over the years, Ferrari became famous for taking legal action when it believed its image was being misused. Replica builders, unauthorized merchandise sellers, and even owners who heavily modified their vehicles sometimes found themselves facing pressure from the company. Ferrari's position has always been simple. The brand must remain protected at all costs. That approach made sense from a business perspective. Luxury brands survive because people believe they are special. The moment exclusivity weakens, part of the value disappears with it. But salvage rebuild culture introduced a problem Ferrari could not fully control. Because creators like Mat Armstrong were showing millions of people that damaged Ferraris could be repaired outside official factory systems. More importantly, they were showing exactly how those repairs happened. Viewers could watch parts being sourced, mechanical problems being solved, and vehicles slowly returning to roadworthy condition. That transparency changed how people viewed these cars. Before YouTube rebuild culture became popular, most people imagined supercar repairs as mysterious factory-only procedures hidden behind dealership walls. The process